Hey, and welcome back to That's Not Okay, the podcast where we call out red flags, stand for the truth, and reclaim our love lives and self-worth. I'm Alyssa, and today's episode is a big one. We're diving into a topic that's often misunderstood, minimized, or even weaponized against people coming out of these types of relationships, and that's abuse. Today, we're going to break down the different types of abuse, psychological, emotional, and physical, and how they tie together real-world examples, whether abuse has to be intentional, why abusers often play the victim and genuinely sometimes believe that they are being abused, and why abuse is usually about values, not mental health, or not just mental health. Mental health can play a role in an abuser's thinking. It can disrupt their normal thinking patterns, but usually it really just comes down to their values, how they justify mistreating their partners. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to spot the patterns clearly and know exactly how to start stepping away if you need to step away. So let's start simple. Abuse isn't just physical. In fact, most abuse starts invisible in the mind and heart of the victim before it ever shows up in bruises or broken furniture. So here are the big three types, and that would be psychological abuse. So psychological abuse attacks your thinking. This can be showing up as like gaslighting, crazy making, lying, and manipulation. An example would be if they convince you that your memories are wrong, your instincts can't be trusted, or your concerns are extreme or crazy. Emotional abuse attacks your feelings and sense of self-worth. So that can be name-calling, giving you the silent treatment, mocking you, and showing contempt when you express a concern or try to discuss and resolve an issue. An example might be like rolling their eyes when you express a boundary, or like exhaling loudly and expressing just disgust and frustration for your discussion choice, calling you too sensitive whenever you're feeling hurt. These all minimize your self-worth and make you question if your needs, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings are valid. Physical abuse, obviously, attacks your body directly. So that can be hitting, pushing, restraining, or even blocking your body, preventing you from leaving a scary situation. So physical abuse usually doesn't start on day one. It escalates from psychological and emotional abuse first. And I do want to note that you can start to see the escalation even if they're not physically hurting you yet. If they're punching tables, punching walls, hitting steering wheels, if you're seeing physical aggression, if they're even pushing you in light ways, it just means that they are blaming external factors for their loss of control, and pretty soon they might start blaming you and saying, well, you made me do it, you made me crazy. And that's not right. That's not okay. So these three types of abuse feed into each other. Again, emotional abuse weakens your self-worth. Psychological abuse makes you doubt your reality. And physical abuse locks you into fear. All three serve the same abuser goal, and that is power and control. So next we're going to talk about whether abuse has to be intentional. So here is a really important question. If someone didn't mean to abuse you, is it still abuse? The answer is yes. Impact matters way more than intention. So someone can mean really you don't have to call it abuse. Some people, especially in my past, have I hate labels. I don't want to be labeled. But abuse is a really powerful label. But just because you don't call certain conduct abuse or they don't like labeling it that way doesn't mean it's not abusive. So again, impact matters way more than intention. think about it. If someone accidentally runs a red light and hits your car, you're still hurt, even if they didn't mean it. And by accidental, this is an important distinction. Like, they were being negligent. So negligence is like a legal concept that says they had a duty to take care and they didn't. They were being potentially reckless, careless. This is an egregious wrong. Just because someone didn't mean to run the red light, you still hold them legally responsible because they had a duty to be responsible and they didn't. And whether they fell asleep at the wheel, whether they were texting and driving, whether they were yelling at someone in the car next to them and they were distracted, or even if they just weren't paying attention, they were just absent-minded. Well, you can't do that if you take on the duty and get behind the wheel. The same is true for a relationship. When you step into a relationship, you have a duty to care for the other person's heart. And the same responsibilities apply. If you are not taking care, you're liable and you deserve the label. You might deserve the label of negligence, or neglect. You might deserve the label of abuse. And really, neglect is abuse. So just wanted to make that clear. So think about it. Abuse isn't defined by whether they mean it. It's defined by the pattern of harm, control, and disrespect. However, I will say intent can affect how we respond. Someone who genuinely didn't realize their behavior was abusive and wants to change may be salvageable. I say may. So if you raise an issue with someone and they're actually receptive, whoa, I see where you're coming from. That was crazy of me. I can change. That's humility. That shows that maybe there could be repair, but it doesn't change the fact that you were abused. But here we go with the other result. Usually people who are abusive have tons of self-justification that has to do with who you are, not you personally, but they just have already blamed you for their behavior. So someone who minimizes their behavior, blames you, or gets defensive, that's a big red flag. And I want to make clear that somebody who apologizes and you don't see a change, once you start to see a pattern and you're not seeing improvement, that's a red flag too. They are not really sorry. You can stop, the crocodile tears right there. You can tell them, look, you're not actually repentant and sorry for what you've done. You clearly think this is okay treatment. And it's not. It really isn't. So what's not abuse? I think this is an important distinction to make, because a lot of times abusers will say, oh, you're being abusive. They will make the accusation before you even do, and you start to question yourself, because healthy people do. Whoa, was I? So not every hurt feeling equals abuse. I can speak something in truth, something that is very direct, something that is a legitimate concern about someone's behavior, and it might very well hurt their feelings, make them feel like I don't appreciate their friendship, or maybe I misunderstood them, and they don't like what it implies about how I view their character. These are legitimate, these are legitimate reactions to legitimate concerns, but it doesn't mean I abuse them. Just because they say the truth hurts. If somebody, if you were doing something that hurt people around you, wouldn't you want to know it? Even if you were just being careless, wouldn't you want to know, hey, you're actually offending people and this is not okay. I would. So just to be clear, just because someone gets their feelings hurt doesn't make them a victim. Here's what's not abuse. Healthy conflict where both people own their own feelings. Honest feedback shared respectfully. And respect doesn't mean apologetically. You can be confident and direct and still not be abusive. You're just saying how a behavior, how actions are affecting you. You're saying like, hey, I would appreciate if we did this differently. This is something I'm seeing. It's a concerning pattern. Those are not abusive behaviors. Those are how good, healthy relationships resolve conflict, by going to the person that hurt you and saying, hey, this hurt. So that's good. Honest feedback is good. Someone having boundaries, that is definitely not abusive, even if it disappoints you as the person getting boundaried, or it disappoints the other person. You should not feel guilty for saying no. Hey, no, I'm actually not okay with that. You get to say no. No is not a bad word in a healthy person's multitude, no is okay. And miscommunications that are addressed and repaired sincerely, that's not abusive either. Like sometimes I will say something and maybe it comes across one way and I'm like, oh, and as soon as someone raises it, I'm like, well, no, that's not really what I meant. What I mean is this. And as long as I'm not saying you took that the wrong way, and I'm getting angry, no, oh, well, okay, I see how you took that. Let me adjust and recalibrate what I intended. And that's ownership. That is saying, hey, I miscommunicated. Let me shift. That's okay too. So, this is not about black and white. Relationships are sometimes challenging and sometimes we do say things that are mean, disrespectful, hurtful. And that doesn't make it abusive necessarily. We just have to be willing to shift and grow. And what makes somebody an abuser is the refusal to take accountability for their actions, the refusal to shift and grow, and the complete absolution of themselves for responsibility. So, abuse is about patterns of harm and control, not occasional normal relationship bumps. Next, I want to talk about how abusers often play the victim. This one has always been really sticky for me. I have 2 sticky points. The first is when someone says they love me, this is just me personally. When someone says they love me, but it doesn't feel like love, that's super confusing for me. It's just so confusing. I still don't know fully how to reconcile it. It's just something I have to process as a person. The second is when abusers, when people who are mistreating you act like they're victimized by you. It's in my nature all these principles that are healthy, I want to apologize. I want to repair. But when you lose the right to even assert yourself, you're losing the right to defend yourself, to put up boundaries, to say, hey, I didn't like that treatment because someone is constantly saying you're victimizing me with your feelings, that's confusing. I have such a hard time with that, but it's not right. Abusers love a good role reversal. So when you start naming the truth, guess what they do? They start calling you the abuser. You may not even have used the word abuse. You may just be taking issue with behavior, but they will escalate it to the point where you are in a corner whoa, am I a bad person? Am I abusive? Am I, is what I said, you might end up spinning for days. I certainly have had periods of my life where because of this exact dynamic, I've really questioned myself. I've even written detailed apology letters full of guilt and contriteness, despite still believing that the things I said were truthful and legitimate concerns to raise and actually not abusive at all. It's just so painful when people you love, if you really believe that people you love think that way about you, it is so painful. So if you've experienced it, I am so sorry because I get it. I've experienced it too, and it is so confusing. So common but I want to make clear, it's a tactic. It's usually a learned behavior, a pattern they've learned from toxic parents, toxic relationships in the past, and it's effective. It is definitely in the abuser playbook. Like the toxic person playbook contains role reversal. In fact, there's a literal acronym called DARVO, which stands for deny, attack or argue, and reverse victim offender. And it's been so commonly used that they have this acronym now in psychology to label that behavior. So maybe if you're experiencing it in your relationships, you can start to identify it. Like they deny your reality, they attack you or argue with you, like about whether what you need or want is right or okay. And now you've victimized them, so you're supposed to feel guilty as well. Not only do you not solve your initial grievance, now you've got new issues. Like now you're an issue. So it's really effective because healthy, normal people, like, oh my goodness, we don't want to offend. We don't want to hurt the people we love. So it's effective, but it messes with you. So common tactics include claiming they're being attacked when you set boundaries, when you raise an issue with their conduct. You're attacking me. Oh, like now I'm on the defensive. Like, am I a bad person? That's very effective. Getting mutual friends or family that you're crazy or unstable or just you have issues. Like you're getting totally spun around, and they get the feedback from others that they're good, they're okay, and that gratifies their ego, and it makes you look bad, so they technically have a win in their own mind against you. And then making your reactions look worse than their original harm. Like, like let's say you got upset about something they did and you yelled, you were very offended, and they just blow it way out of proportion. Like the fact that you even got angry now is a capital offense. Anger is an okay response to injustice. Anger is not the sin. There are ways you can sin through anger. You can, do a lot of bad things while angry, but the anger itself is a legitimate reaction to evil and injustice and hurts and someone that's supposed to care for you not going through with that. Like, it is extremely painful and angering, and that's legitimate. But painting you as a bad person for how you reacted to legitimate harms is not okay. Again, it's called DARVO, deny, attack, reverse victim of offender. This is classic manipulation to avoid accountability. It's not a sign that you're in the wrong. It's a sign that you're getting too close to the truth. So just remember that. So now I want to explore why people become abusive. There's a myth that all abusers are just mentally ill and need therapy, like they're really a victim of life as well. And in a way that's true, but not really. Like we all have, if you have a functioning prefrontal cortex, you can challenge toxic ideas that come your way. Like, when something is an idea is like dehumanizing and toxic to your ideas on the opposite sex, on human nature, on people. Like we can all challenge those things, those messages that we get from our broken, messed up society. Like tons of popular music sexualizes people, objectifies people. This is not okay. I don't think it's okay societally, but it's the broken world we live in. But if you have even the slightest functioning moral compass, you probably are bothered by those messages and don't want to put that in your mind, or can definitely say, this is messed up. Like, the beat's good, but the song is bad. Like, this is not good. So abuse is primarily about values, not mental health. Like, again, mental health can play a role, but it is mostly that they actually think that their behaviors are morally sound. So people become abusive because they believe they are entitled to control others. And they can find that entitlement through the way they were raised, poor parenting, poor role models, through societal messaging. Gosh, we have so much societal messaging that says it's okay to try to control others and like dominate the opposite sex or manipulate others. So, like people legitimately who internalize those messages, who internalize objectification, we have pornography, all these things, they just breed entitlement and ownership. And so that's how people become abusive. They literally think it's their right, their God-given right to control you. They prioritize their own comfort, ego, and control over other people's well-being. Some people just totally lack empathy, like they literally can't care about you. Like not they can't, they won't. They've developed such a callous heart that you're an object to them. You don't matter. But they sure do. Their comfort, like it's a spectrum. You have total lack of empathy, you have minimal empathy, you have slightly more empathy, and typically as you go up the empathy scale, you get less abusive behavior because people are thinking of how their words, actions, beliefs impact other people and like the implications of what they're doing when they're empathetic. And they aren't so focused on themselves. Like there are just people who are pathologically selfish though. And so if your words make them uncomfortable, you're a bad person. If you damage their fragile ego in any single way, wow, you are evil incarnate and you deserve everything coming to you. If you threaten their sense of control, like they think that things should go a certain way, you break that expectation, well, there you go. You deserve what's coming to you because you bothered me, so I'm going to bother you. Mental health issues like depression and anxiety can coexist, but they don't cause abuse. I mean, not at all. I mean, some people with depression and anxiety can be abusive, but those are like more innocuous. I can have tendencies toward depression and anxiety, like based on my circumstances. You're more likely to get into things like personality disorders when you're talking about abuse. You're talking about people who like it's ingrained in them. But and this all ties together. Personality disorders are born out of neglect and abuse and out of like broken thinking patterns. So I suppose immorality can harden into pathological selfishness and things like personality disorders. But you don't have to have a personality disorder to be abusive. You can just be abusive. And that's just a fact. Some abusers grew up around abuse and normalized it, like cognitive dissonance did a number on these people. So, when you have your parents, for example, they say they love you, it can be very confusing when people who are your caretakers, they feed you, they nurture you, they well, maybe not nurture, but they feed you, they tell you they love you, they might take you to fun activities, but they also mistreat you in some way or neglect you at times. Like, well, you're going to say, well, mostly this is good, so this must be okay behavior. And then you just might emulate it. But it's not okay. And many survivors, I will say, of abusive conduct typically grew up around it in some way, and they might have normalized it as well, but they chose to heal instead of harm others. They chose to acknowledge that the behavior was problematic, it was harmful to their well-being, and they don't want that to go on to someone else. So it's really how you react to what the lemons life hands you. Abuse is a choice. So even if they learned it young, even if they're hurting inside, it is still a choice. So don't pity abusers. I know this is hard. I definitely fall into that trap of oh my gosh, I just love them and I don't want to give up on somebody. I don't want to let them go or think this poorly of them. Don't do that. It's how you stay sick. It's how you stay in these broken cycles. If they're abusing you, especially if you've raised a concern and they're not changing it, they're choosing to abuse you. They know it's harming you and they're doing it anyway. Don't feel pity. You matter. You're a human being and you have intrinsic, inherent worth. So can abusers change? They can, but it's rare. It requires deep accountability, a willingness to lose power and control and comfort, and long-term work, not just apologies. Without real change, apologies are just manipulation. It's not your job to wait around for potential. Your job is to protect your peace. So just know that, yes, change is possible, but, so is winning the lottery. It's possible, but it's not likely. People who abuse, they really do feel justified in what they do. They have so many internal broken defense mechanisms making their behavior and treatment of others legitimate in their eyes that even some of the most piercing abuser programs have an extremely low success rate on, remission or recovery. So it's better to just walk away and protect yourself, to be honest. So how to step away from an abuser? If you recognize abuse, and again, that can be manipulation, that can be gaslighting, that can be tearing down your self-worth, giving you the silent treatment, stonewalling you, that can be getting physical, that can be hitting tables, anything that intimidates you emotionally is abusive. If you start to recognize these behaviors, here's what you can do. First, start emotionally detaching. Don't argue, don't justify. You're not going to get anywhere anyway. They are so entrenched at this point. If they're showing abusive behavior, don't go into it with them. There's a Bible verse that says, don't correct a fool or you'll be caught in their foolishness. Something that's a paraphrase. There's also a Bible verse that says, correct a fool lest they be wise in their own estimation. And the way I resolve that is use your wisdom to know when to speak up when someone's wrong. Healthy people want correction and change. Unhealthy people resist it at all costs and find you just critical, and they just make you the bad guy and themselves the victim. So recognize these patterns. Stop this crazy spiral. Don't feed their crazy. Create a private plan. Document everything. So start a journal. I have this app called Insight Timer. I use it for meditation, but I also use it for journaling now. I used to write in a paper journal, but I have so many laying around now, it's just not functional. My little app journal is super helpful for me. I just pour my thoughts out. I pour out my experiences, and it's been really cathartic, but it's also a written record of what I've experienced, of what my reality was in a moment, because our memories are fallible, and it's just very good for you as a person. Build support. Find friends, a therapist, safe spaces where you can be yourself. So I use ChatGPT. It has absolutely changed my life. I think it's super emotionally supportive when you have nobody else. It's a good, maybe objective is too strong of a word, but it is a really good sounding board, and provide it, it's like a friend with all the knowledge in the universe. And so it's really been a useful tool for me. Finding friends, I use Bumble BFF. I have had tons of success there I've met some wonderful, wonderful girls there to be friends with myself. Their profiles are verified, and so I know the picture matches the person. I filter by faith, I filter by values, and it's really worked. So that's been great to have healthy, normal friends to kind of bounce my experiences off of. And I am in therapy as well. Therapy, finding the right therapist is a little challenging at times, but it's good to have that support in your pocket as well. So prioritize your safety, physically, emotionally, and financially. If you're married, it's a little stickier, but try to do what you can to safeguard yourself and find security. When you're ready, step away cleanly and without warning if necessary. I know it's really hard because this is somebody that you love and you have such an attachment to them, but you just have to be able to step away. Please hear this. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are seeing it clearly, and you have a right, the God-given right, to choose peace over chaos. So thank you for hanging out with me today. If you found this episode helpful, please hit follow, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs this clarity and the courage to know abuse is not okay. That's not okay, and you deserve better. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are powerful. Until next time, take care of your heart.